You know, I'm very. Sometimes you meet people in boxing. Canelo has so many similarities in mindset of boxing and his passion for boxing to AJ. They're just boxing nuts. I mean, he flew to that fight because he wanted to support Ryan Garcia. And if you look at him in the change room after, talking to Ryan, yeah, you know, they live and love boxing. And Eddie Reynoso is a fantastic trainer. And if you watch the fight back with Campbell, his corner work was so important. You know, he rattled him up, he riled him up when he was down, you know, when his confidence might have been weak. And then the moment that he smelt that he had a chance to beat Campbell or hurt Campbell, he was on him, passionate in the corner. Walk him down, don't show him any respect, do this. And they're very infectious people, you know. I love working with people who have a passion, who love what they do, because that's how it's always been with AJ. We all share a common goal. We all
big man ting, smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Eddie Hearn exposing to the 9th degree all the deficiencies within AJ's current moist team. Now I'm sure there's going to be some AJ super fans who are sour to hear this, but the YB is not letting it go. I'm not. Because anyone who knows boxing knows this is not the best AJ. They know there's something wrong in the camp. This ain't the best AJ, yeah? And just quickly, before we go into it, the particulars. If AJ had all this confidence in McCracken, yeah? McCracken, he wouldn't need to bring 3-4 man deep in, 3 Nudons in, yeah? Simple as that. Anyway, back to the Eddie Hearn expose. We heard Eddie Hearn here explain to all you man who don't get it what a great trainer does. Let me read word for word what Hearn said. He goes, first of all, Canelo and AJ have a lot of similarities. 100% agree. AJ, pound for pound, all-time great level genetics. Canelo, similar kind of level. In my opinion, Canelo genetically isn't on AJ's level still. In terms of the FIFA scores, AJ is a 93 out of 100 fighter. Canelo's probably a 91 in raw underlying genetics in terms of power, speed, athleticism. Don't get me wrong, Canelo is an all-time great in his own right, but there's levels to this game, and it just so happens AJ is a few ticks above. And the attitude as well. Who else do you know is looking for smoke in all areas? Who? Who do you know goes from back to back to back fights since he was 10 fights in? AJ fought Charles Martin at 16 fights in. Meanwhile, Fury was going life and death 50-50 with McDermott, getting plastered all over the ring. Yeah? People laugh at AJ for getting beat by Ruiz, who has dastardly quick hands and dastardly robust chin and dastardly combinations. Fury got put over by a man who throws one shot at a time, McDermott, who really is unfit. Yeah? Anyway, back to the topic we're talking on. So yeah, AJ and Canelo have psychologically similar, physically similar. That's the first thing. Now to the trainer. Eddie Hearn says, Eddie Reynoso, Canelo Alvarez's trainer and Ryan Garcia's trainer. His corner work was so important against Luke Campbell. We know Luke Campbell put Ryan Garcia, who's an up-and-coming fighter, a young fighter, down for the first time. What do we know about AJ's career? Yes, he went down for the first time in his career against Vlad, but guess who was in the corner against Vlad? Tony Sims was leading the corner against Vlad. 2-2s. By the time AJ fought Andy Ruiz, there was no Tony Sims, for whatever reason. It was Mr. McCracken in the corner. Is it a coincidence? Bearing in mind, AJ's in there with Vlad. Vlad's a better fighter than Ruiz. Yeah, they've got different strengths and different qualities, but AJ managed to negotiate his way out of the Vlad fight and win in devastating fashion. The Ruiz fight, he ends up getting splattered by a 400-pound dude. Because Rob McCracken, you don't have that bit that Eddie Reynoso has, that Manny Stewart has, that great characteristic. So, as Eddie Hearn was explaining, Eddie Reynoso's corner work was maximum important. Ryan Garcia, a young, up-and-coming fighter, gets put down for the first time in his career against a world-class fighter. Same way as AJ did. What was the difference, though? Eddie Hearn goes on to say, even when Ryan Garcia's confidence was knocked, Eddie Reynoso, being that top-tier trainer, brought his charge up. Even though we're losing, or even though we got stunned and we went down for the first time in our career, I'm going to raise my fighter up above the level he is. When have you ever seen Rob McCracken raise AJ up above the level he is? All I've seen McCracken do is drag AJ down, if I'm honest. Show me when. Tell me when AJ's been in, or when AJ's been having an average performance and you thought, wow, yeah. And these aren't my words. Listen to Eddie. Just listen to the passion Eddie Hearn has explaining what happened. I've never heard Eddie Hearn explain how great... Listen, anytime AJ's had a bad rap, it's just got worse. Do you know what I'm saying? I've never heard McCracken get AJ out of jail, which is what great trainers can do. It's like a great cut man. An average cut man will get you stopped. A great cut man can be the difference between winning and losing. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same as a trainer. An average trainer, you'll just lose. A great trainer can literally be the difference between winning and losing. Ryan Garcia. The trainer was... I'm not saying he wouldn't have won anyway, but listen, Eddie Hearn was there, I wasn't. The trainer was vital. I've never ever seen McCracken do anything noteworthy. All I've ever heard out of him is, keep calm behind the jab. What's that? That's not a trainer. AJ doesn't need to know to keep behind. Who doesn't know that? You've got to add value. At this level, you've got to add real value. It's not enough just to say, keep behind the jab, keep nice and calm. That's what you should be doing in training anyway. That goes without saying. We need technical and tactical advice. As an example, when AJ was in the Ruiz fight, his guard was all wide and right hand kept getting through and all this kind of business. There weren't no technical or tactical advice. It was all just calm down and breathe deeply. You meant to cover them things in the training camp. That's the baseline. That's not adding value. At this level, AJ needs a trainer who adds value, who rises him up. This isn't what currently. That's not what's happening. People keep saying, "Oh, AJ's confidence looks a bit nervous and whatnot." That's a trainer's responsibility, as you just heard there from Eddie Hearn. When Ryan Garcia's confidence was knocked, Eddie Reynoso was that balancing factor, which is what great trainers do. When you're down, I'm picking you up, and it's not as simple as just saying, or just it's not as simple as just shouting lines in the camp. It comes from years of kind of conditioning someone and grooming them almost. You have to groom your fighters. Be in tune with them psychologically. Mike Tyson talked about it. He wouldn't even... If Cuss told him to bite, he'd bite. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a dog. That's how you've got to almost be. You've got to believe... Your fighters almost got to be on autopilot. And I've heard about fighters talking about it before, that their trainer would tell them to do something. They didn't even necessarily think it was a good idea, but they did it anyway, and it ended up kind of being the difference in the fight. That's the kind of belief you need to have in your trainer. That kind of understanding. And I've never seen any of them moments from Rob McCracken and AJ. I haven't seen that chemistry. I haven't seen that passion. I haven't seen that high-level trainingness, if the truth be known. I don't think McCracken is that level. And AJ is such a great talent, it's easy for people to say, yeah, like in the Pulev fight, it's easy for people to say, oh, well, YB, AJ's won all of his fights. He's only lost one fight, but that's how great he is. AJ's fighting in an era where there's a whole load of bums relative to him. So he's not going to need You know what I'm saying? He's not going to need a trainer every day to bail him out. But listen, the few times he has been in trouble, or the one time he needed that boost, where was... You know what I'm saying? McCracken doesn't have a hard job. When you've got that kind of Ferrari, you know what I'm saying? He's not a journeyman fighter where you're going to have to beat, innit? Bail him out every 2 seconds. But the one time AJ needed that, everyone was saying, oh, AJ came in, he looked a bit flat, he didn't look himself. Well, where was the trainer? Do you know what I'm saying? That's where they're meant to come in. I mean, Ryan Garcia looked a little flat or whatever. And I've seen Eddie Reynoso in the corner with Canelo anyway, doing the same thing when he was in there with, who was it? I think it was the Kovalev fight. Eddie told him to get Kovalev out of there. No more messing about. And then, funnily enough, Eddie Hearn goes on to say, on the topic of Ryan Garcia and Eddie Reynoso as well, he says, when Ryan Garcia got knocked down and his confidence was a little tainted, he rose him up. And then, not only that though, not only did he raise his fighter up when he got knocked down for the first time in his career, he didn't leave it there. It wasn't enough for Eddie Reynoso just to say, okay, well, we got knocked down, let's just survive this fight and get through 12 rounds, safety first. No. When he felt like Luke Campbell was done, and to be honest, Luke Campbell was never that done, was he? It wasn't like his hands started hanging by his waist. It was minutiae we're talking here. It was tiny. Again, this is what high-level trainers do. They can read these kind of things. They can read when their fighter's got momentum and the other fighter's losing it. To be honest, to me, it looked like it was the same damn thing. I didn't notice no Luke Campbell's wheels falling off. But that's what high-level trainers are meant to be doing. There's a reason you don't see videos of me with a whole load of points of how Canelo's trainer and Ryan Garcia's trainer are making errors here. You saw Ryan Garcia. He got knocked down. What happened next? He made the adjustments. It's rather than dropping his lead hand and whatnot, high guard, chin down, elbows in. When AJ was getting clocked on the back of his head and getting clocked with straight rights through the guard, there were no adjustments. All I heard from McCracken was, oh, nice and slow and keep behind. That's not an adjustment. That ain't going to bail your fighter out, and that's why he had a loss. Because there isn't that dynamicness. He's one-dimensional and one-geared. He's basically an amateur trainer. Just listen to the guy. His advice is amateur advice. It's not dynamic or high level. You don't see, it's just not, is it? Be honest with me. You show me something. Show me something you've seen out of Rob McCracken that's dynamic. That you can sit there and say, yeah man, that added value. That got AJ out of jail. In fact, never mind got out of jail, just show me something that actually adds value to the fight. And as I was about to explain, so yeah, Ryan Garcia gets knocked down, trainer makes sure he doesn't lose his head, which can be, as a 22-year-old fighter, you're in there with a world championship level guy, it can't be an easy thing. But not only did Eddie Reynoso stop there, he then read between the lines and told Ryan Garcia when it was time to go. And it wasn't even that late in the fight. I can't remember what round it was, but the bottom line is, we're talking an extremely high level here. And yes, Luke Campbell isn't Gervonta Tank Davis, but still, my man just got put down. But for that trainer, that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for him to just survive the rest of the fight because we got put down. He knows how to rise his fighter up and get the best out of them. Next thing you know, he comes from being knocked down in the first time of his career to stopping the guy with a shocking body shot. That's what a great... I'm not saying that body shot was Eddie Reynoso put it in his head, but who knows actually, because guess what? After the fight and before the fight, we saw Canelo in there training with him, and he was slipping and banging the left hook. And that's what Canelo Alvarez does well, but guess where he would have learnt that? From the damn trainer. When have you seen AJ slip and bang a left hook? That's high level punching, that's high level work there. And AJ's got more than enough power to do it. Instead, we see him in there with Pulev, just just throwing a whole heap of shots, half of them missing. That fight showed when Canelo Alvarez knocked Kovalev out, when Ryan Garcia knocked out or stopped Luke Campbell. It shows you don't need to be throwing 50,000 shots. It only takes one or two put the right way. This is what, if you want an example, of what high-level training is and what high-level coaching is and what it isn't, Rob McCracken, Eddie Reynoso. And even before this Ryan Garcia fight, I was telling you, man, if I could pick a training for AJ to go to, it's this Don here. And it's just, I find it hilarious that Eddie Hearn was actually drawing parallels about how similar Canelo and AJ are. The only difference in their career, the reason Canelo's career is going the way it is, and the reason AJ's career is going the other way, in as much as, like, look how much Canelo Alvarez is going up weight classes, and he just got this air of confidence about him. AJ's fighting people who can't lace his boots, and he's on the outside, and he's, you know what I'm saying? That's all because that all comes from the trainer. When you come off a loss, unless you're God himself, it's hard to put yourself. Humpty Dumpty can't put himself back together again. You need that kind of influence in you. The same kind of influence that when you get put down in a fight, your trainer don't cack his pants and start back. Oh, we need to run around and we need to. Sometimes the best defense is offense. Obviously, you have to read between the lines on that one. It's not as simple as, do you know what I'm saying? But if you've trained for it properly, why are we abandoning what we're great at? Just because it seems like the lower risk thing to do. Okay, we lost a fight, so now we're gonna refuse to engage and take as little risk as possible. That's McCracken summed up in a nutshell. Take no risk, and I don't even know what to say, but yeah, him summed up in a nutshell is the bare bottom line of training. Amateur style is what sums up Rob McCracken. He's probably a good amateur coach, a 3-round amateur coach. That's all he is. He ain't adding no value. And just before I go, let me read out the last thing that Eddie Hearn says here. He says, so yeah, when Ryan Garcia was low on confidence, he riled him up. When he saw that momentum was with Ryan Garcia and Campbell was starting to fade, he shouted at Ryan Garcia, don't show him any respect. Walk him down and get him out of there. When AJ's in there with Pulev, and this is what me and everyone else was saying, where was that same influence? Why didn't we hear from Eddie Hearn after the Pulev fight and hear from him saying, oh, you know what, I just love McCracken. When AJ got Pulev hurt and McCracken saw AJ backing up, McCracken believes in AJ so much, has so much confidence in him and knows how hard they train and knows how great of a talent AJ is, and they're prepared for it, the same way Manny Stewart did. Eddie Reynoso and Manny Stewart would have been telling AJ, they'd have been obviously training him differently as well, properly, to actually stop someone efficiently and effectively, and they'd have been telling him, get him out of there, what are we doing here? Why are we doing all the fuddy-duddy arms, and what for? All that fuddy-duddy fainting and whatnot, that's all well and good, but not in front of Pulev. You don't need to be doing all that extra stuff. Chin down, hands up, and get on top of him, open him up. He ain't putting more than one shot together. What do we need all that extra stuff for? And I haven't heard one person explain to me what all that extra stuff's for against these kind of opponents. It's a waste of energy and a waste of time. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do know. This is what I want to see from, and all the things that I want to see out of McCracken and AJ is what's going on with Eddie Reynoso and his fighters. And it's not just one fighter. The fact he's done it with 2 fighters now proves that there's something in what he's doing. It's not just, oh, well, YB, Canelo Alvarez is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Absolutely not. Ryan Garcia has just got off the canvas against a world-level opponent, come back and stopped him. Do you know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable. Like, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up Eddie Reynoso's bottom, but it's true. I'm just looking for something similar. Not asking for rocket science stuff here. I want someone who believes in AJ. Who trains him like they believe in him. This AJ ain't being trained like someone believes in him. They're training like AJ's got no chin and AJ's just no good. Honestly, that's the honest truth. AJ's boxing like just scary at the moment, in my opinion. And yes, he's getting the stoppage still, but that you man don't understand. When you're a 10 out of 10 fighter and you're fighting 3 out of 10s, you're gonna get stoppages, even when you're not on your A game. Does that make sense? That's how great AJ is. Even when he's not trying to, even when he's stay behind the jab, stay nice and calm, he's knocking people's spark out. Like Chisora brought to our attention. How hard was AJ hitting? That's how hard he hits. He's got a 40-year-old man who's been in the sport of boxing for 30 years. He's got him turning his back, doing the one rule you never do. Ever. Don't ever turn your back. The only thing to come next was he start pulling his leg up to his chest. I swear to God, if AJ had been digging to his body, you'd have seen Pulev bring his knee up to his chest as well. And just coil in the corner, with his knees and elbows tucked in. That's what was coming next, I'm telling you. So yeah, this one here is for all you man who think that things are just ticking along nicely. I want you man to explain to me the difference here. When have we seen Rob McCracken add value? Oh yeah, and the last thing I've got to say is, Eddie Hearn also says here that he loves being around Canelo's team, and they're very passionate and very infectious, etc., etc. I don't know about you, man. Again, I've never heard Eddie Hearn talk about AJ's team like that. His team seem dull and scary and not confident and it's just amateurish, if the truth be known. Now, on the other side of things, you've got people like Tunde Ajayi who don't have the trainer skills and who's just a hype man. That's no good either. You don't see Canelo's trainer just hyping him up. How Canelo's trainer, how Eddie Reynoso injects confidence and whatnot, as I was explaining, that comes from grooming essentially. Over time, you build that relationship, that trust. That fighter training relationship, it's very special and really important. You got that trust where if I tell you to, do you know what I'm saying? To execute a particular game plan or a particular set of movements, you just do it. Even if you don't feel it's there, you just do it. Who was saying that? I think might have been George Groves, and Shane McGuigan. I'm not sure, but either way, it's been said before in the past. That's the kind of great trainers and their fighters. They have that kind of relationship. They don't need to even see it themselves, but because their trainers spotted it, they're just going to execute it. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen AJ's team even thinking on them levels. When have you seen AJ come out after a fight and say, "Oh yeah, Rob told me I didn't really see it at the time, but Rob told me that this shot was open. So I slipped and I banged this and it worked, knocked him out." I've never seen it. All I've heard out of McCracken is nice and slow, behind the jab, nice and slow. Pulev don't need nice and slow. Pulev needed AJ. It's time for him to get out of there now. What are we dragging this out to round 12 for? What for? But they haven't got that confidence. They're either trying to count the money and just trying to be low risk, or I don't even know what it is. Either way, to sum it up, it's low level. It's the bottom of the barrel level trainer, and that's the bottom line. It's the bottom line, bottom barrel. And if you disagree, all the points I've raised here, just give me examples. Say, well, why be wrong? Because in this fight, this happened. On that fight, this happened. Just give me some examples to work with here. Because I haven't seen anything. Everything AJ's done has been off his own back. Everything, literally. And that's why AJ at points looks a bit unpolished. That's why the Pulev finish was unpolished, really. It was a whole load of headhunting, not a lot of shot picking, not a lot of breaking him down. It was all just a bit rushed. When you compare it to AJ's earlier work, much more methodical. I'm moving forward. I'm jabbing. I'm putting the right hand in. When I get on the inside and covering up and I'm catching and countering. That's how you're meant to fight. Perfect stuff. And if he'd have kept on that track, under Tony Sims and moved along over 4 years, it'd be scary now where we'd be. And I've got the videos, I've got the evidence coming soon. Don't worry about that, to prove what I'm saying. But in the meantime, when I see these little things from, well, I saw this video here from Eddie Hearn. What can you say? How can you deny what's been said here? Never mind Eddie Reynoso's passion and charisma. Just hearing Eddie Hearn talk about Eddie Reynoso's passion and charisma had me excited and gassed. Do you understand? I don't ever get that passion and charisma from McCracken. And that's not everyone can be. Not everyone's got that level of charisma and passion. But the fact of the matter is, that's why you find yourself a great trainer. AJ's at the business end of his career now. McCracken can train another 100 fighters if he so pleases. AJ hasn't got 100 years. He's got 5 or 6 or 7 at the most. So we haven't got really time to be knocking around with these amateur trainers. That's what McCracken is, by the way. Look at Carl Froch. Carl Froch, what big gains, did Carl Froch make in the 10 years he was with Rob McCracken for? None. And that's, what can I say about that? And the reason you're seeing any changes at all is because of how good AJ is. Carl Froch didn't have the ability or the IQ to be able to make changes on the flip. AJ does. That's why you see them. It's not because, and even, you need to be honest, even the changes we do see, they're not high level changes.